What's up, y'all? Let's talk a little Warriors history here. So I just came across this post, and they talking about Stephen A. Smith and his take currently on Luke Walton and Steve Kerr getting all this credit and Marc Jackson being a forgotten man who built this team and laid the foundation for what they are. Now let's just start from the beginning. Marc Jackson got hired with no coaching experience. No coaching experience. A lot of guys pay their dues on the end of the bench, they assistants, they take stats down, right? A la Luke Walton. They pay their dues. But Marc Jackson's an incredibly gifted speaker. This man could go into politics and do really well. Or he could be a preacher, which he is. His own church, right? This man is righteous. So they hired him for, I believe it was a 4-year contract for $5 million. I mean, the numbers weren't high, but they gave him a good contract. And like I said, he had no experience. They gave him his shot, right? And he comes into a really bad team. We didn't have all the talent. They had just got rid of Monte. The list goes on. We was a lottery team that year. So he really didn't do much with a bad team. The next year, Bob Myers, Jerry West, whoever you want to give the credit for, had an incredible, outstanding draft. Marc Jackson wasn't a part of that draft, okay? Bob Myers was part of that draft. Jerry West was part of that draft. Harrison Barnes, Festus Ezeli, and Draymond Green in one draft. That's what turned around the team. Now, did they play better defense under Marc Jackson? Absolutely. Was Marc Jackson some kind of defensive gem when he was a player? Never. He was a horrible defensive player. Now, I'm thinking this Darren Irwin put in a defensive scheme. He deserves a little credit, but no, he got fired by Marc Jackson because Marc Jackson said that he was recording their meetings. And when later on asked, he was recording their meetings because Marc Jackson was being a bully to everyone around him. And it wasn't just Darren Irwin saying it, right? Folks, where there's smoke, there's fire. And this man had smoke all over the place. So Dan Scalabrine gets fired, another coach during the season. He had bad words from Marc Jackson. This is the kind of stuff that just don't happen in the league. Coaches don't fire their assistants, let alone 2 during the regular season. Then he had created this like us against the world mentality. Jim Barnett, who's been the Warriors announcer for eons, 20 plus years, and is highly objective. He is not a homer. He'll tell you if you stink. He'll tell you if you need to work on your game. He'll tell you the Warriors are horrible. He's had to do it for years. So they was interviewing him on the Bay Area radio show KMBR. And Jim Barnett said, this man, in the years that I knew him, never really had a conversation with him, and it was Marc Jackson against the world. He didn't throw dirt on him. He just basically said he agreed with them firing him. He had created this culture of me against the world. He had his favorites on the team, and it was a good move for the Warriors. So if Jim Barnett was on board, who was on the flies, who covers every game, I kind of started to swim in the other direction. I said, all right, maybe we have something here. But I still wasn't on board because Marc Jackson won 51 games. He did have credit for turnaround team. Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, loved this guy. I know they did. And so I did a little more research, as you can do on the internet. Came across this article when he was on the Jazz, when he was in his rocking chair at 38 years old. He had created a rift on the team where he was with the bench warmers and telling them that he'd be the better starter and that they ain't playing everyone enough. Basically throwing dirt on John Stockton, who would later retire that year. And there's a whole article on it. And it was crafty what he was doing. And later on, he said, I can't help it. I'm a leader if everyone wants to follow me. So that was one of the stories that came out. Another one, while he was a Warriors coach, this church-going man that never says a swear word, came out that he had been being extorted, right? He was the victim in this extortion case where a woman had gave nude photos of him from a long time ago when he had an affair with a stripper, which I'm not judging them for. A lot of players do it, right? Have fun. You a ball player. Go for it. But don't go around acting like you this holy preacher, righteous man that does all good when you was cheating on your wife, taking nude photos and sending messages, and you the victim of this extortion case. Think about the people you're dealing with, right? She's a stripper. Of course she's going to try to get some money. Who knows what promises you made to her? Am I right? I mean, it's fine. But just admit that you did something wrong. You ain't my family and I were the victims? Give me a fucking break. You made your bet on that. So this got swept under the table, which to me is just another character flaw, right? And then afterwards, they try to bait Bogut and some other players into saying stuff. But Bogut not being a very religious man, Marc Jackson would have like a Sunday church thing and all this stuff. I just think that should be separate than coaching. That's all. If he does that on his own time, that's fine. And then in closing on this about Marc Jackson, why hasn't anyone hired him? Why? Why hasn't anyone hired this man? I've actually thought about it myself. They don't want any part of him because he's got a smoke trail behind him. He's an incredible speaker. He's a great announcer on games, right? But the guy's clever and crafty with getting people on his side, and I really think it's an ego issue if you ask me. I think that he believes his shit don't stink, and it doesn't work when you're the coach. There's some guys that you got to answer to when you're a coach on a team. And why hasn't he got another shot, Stephen A? Why? Now I'm with you. Luke Walton doesn't deserve a lot of credit because once you got a really good team and really good players, they do it themselves. And they've been playing together. You know, like Eric Spatula or whatever his name was on the Miami Heat. That was LeBron's team. Eric could basically go in the locker room and watch a movie and come back out and they'd be up 10, 15 points and LeBron would be telling everyone where to go on the court. And I mean, no offense to Luke Walton because he's making the rotations, he's doing this, but you don't have to do much. You just got to put a basketball man in there. But don't take credit away from Steve Kerr because he put in this offense. Marc Jackson's offense was horrible. It was a horrible offense. It lacked creativity, it lacked movement, and they would have never would have won the finals with Marc Jackson as the coach. Tell me if I'm wrong.